Hello.
Hello. Hi,
Hello.
everybody. Welcome to
Hello.
Hegemony Revealed, episode 1313. My lucky number. I don't care what anybody says or any
Same
type of
here.
belief system. Say 13 is my lucky number.
Me too.
So, yeah, screw all that other stuff. So, thank you for joining. Joining us for this episode of Hegemony Revealed. And I'm here with my lovely co host. I'm Trina Casey, by the way, Garry, Trina, Shahana. And Shahana, say your last name again, please.
Chattopadhyay.
Chakraparty. Okay, because you didn't even have it up there for me to see this time. So I was sitting there going, wait, how do I say her last name again? I don't. You're going to have to spell it out phonetically one day for me so I can just have it burned into my psyche. But thank you, you guys, for just being such a great space for me. And in the back rooms, as they call it, we were having a discussion about vulnerability and calling ourselves out. And Garry said this is such a great way to kind of call out hegemony in a way, or hegemony. Somebody told me, isn't it hegemony? And I said, it depends on what your accent and where you're from.
Yes.
you
You
know?
say tomato, I say tomato, or what?
Exactly. Exactly. And somebody was having one of these moments. They call it naso fico in Italian. So, who would like to start this exploration? Since Garry, you had an interesting evening. So, and you started this vulnerability aspect, and I laughed so hard. I wasn't laughing at you. I was laughing at you. But I thought it was great. So, why don't you share first?
Oh dear. So I felt really so yeah, this topic comes up so much because the multi levels of vulnerability for me, Trina and Shahana, right? So you've got it's a personal vulnerability. Last night I had the wonderful Brooke on a live stream, and suddenly I realized I thought that the technology had a problem, blame the tech, and I didn't realize I accidentally pressed mute on my laptop. So we were 35 minutes into an incredible conversation. The wonderful Trina and Shahana joined us. A number of other people did. And suddenly, I'm literally going like, is it me? Is it you, Brooke? Brooke's going, I don't know. I don't know. And bearing in mind, we're live streaming like we are now. And I think what was really interesting as I laugh at that yesterday and today is I remember how I used to feel in those situations prior to doing the inner work of unlearning, right? Unlearning that conditioning of it needs to be perfect. It needs to be exact. It needs to look professional. Yeah. 5 years ago, that scenario I experienced last night, I would have crumbled. I would have been like, oh my God, what are they going to think about me? Is it going to be what, is like, do they want to work with me? Will they still be my friend? Oh my God, have I embarrassed them? All of that story that I've been conditioned with for the first 40 odd years of my life would have come tumbling out of me. But as we've role modeled already today, when we can see the hilarity, the curiosity, I'm just a messy human and it'll be okay. Yeah, I'll just go again next time. And to wrap up my introduction, what I thought was beautiful was the grace that Brooke offered me when I said, look, would you like to carry on this conversation? Of course, let's do it again. Yeah, that generosity that came at the end of that. Yes, I know Brooke, but if it had been old Garry 5+ years ago, the energy I gave off in that moment probably would have been like, no way am I going back towards you again. So yeah,
Okay.
there's my few little weaves around vulnerability and letting go and hegemony and how it shows up in me, past and present on occasion.
Yep.
That's beautiful. And what did I write you? What did I write you, Garry? Shit happens.
Shit happens. Yeah.
Yeah. No reason to beat yourself up. Radical compassion.
Yes.
Radical compassion. What about you, Shahana?
Ah, So I'll just start with the number 13 because that happens to be my favorite number. It was the dress of my childhood home.
Ah.
And that was like a 200-year-old house which still exists in Calcutta. And so that was the dress. And 13 is my favorite number, no matter who says what.
Mm.
Having said that, moving on to vulnerability and calling ourselves out, I think, yesterday's event, when it happened, I, I could hear both, right? And it was evident from Gary's expression that he couldn't hear anyone. And at that moment, I was like, Gary, don't trust tech. And the other simultaneous thought was, if we really believe and trust the universe and emergence,
Mm.
maybe that was the right time to stop. Who knows?
Yeah.
You know? And there is this the three laws or the four laws. Whoever comes at the right people, whenever it starts is the right time. Whatever happens is the right thing, and whenever it stops is the right time. The four
Mhm.
laws, right? It's open space technology, right? So,
Mhm.
so I was just thinking, it's somewhere the universe is sending us a message because maybe core messages that had to go out had already gone out, and
Mm.
maybe there is a need for to have another conversation with the group, which is
Mm.
much more maybe encompassing, expansive. Who knows? So all of these were like simultaneously going through my head. And then coming back to our vulnerability bit and what Gary said and what I would have felt earlier was, oh my God, how embarrassed must Gary be? Oh
Mm.
dear, poor thing. And yesterday I was like, no, it's perfect. It had to stop and stopped. And when, if something similar happens to me, and it does very often, I'm very tech challenged when it comes to, like, I'm tech challenged, period. And earlier, I wouldn't directly ask someone or say that, oh, I don't know how to use this technology. Today, I just say, I don't know how to use it. I'm not a tech person. Can you tell me how to do it?
Mhm.
Or if I don't know something, just admitting it is so much easier than pretending to know it.
Mm. Mm.
I don't
Absolutely.
know it. I don't know it. And if it is something of interest, I will learn about it. And I will learn with all the more curiosity and joy. But it's so much easier to just say, don't know. And it is so much more exciting to not know and be in that space of uncertainty
Mm.
rather than think I know when I probably don't or have a very partial knowledge. And I'm missing out on learning from someone else. It is just so much more exciting to genuinely not know and be willing to learn.
Mm. And being comfortable in
Yeah,
that space. I tell people plenty of times that's not my wheelhouse. And sometimes it's not my wheelhouse and I don't want it to be
yeah,
because I have so many other things I know that I'm good at. I
yeah,
don't want to deal with that additional responsibility. It's being able to delegate and appreciate other people's wisdom.
yeah,
And I would have been that desire what Gary expressed earlier about feeling less than. I would say 10 years ago, not knowing something and also being a black woman and admitting you don't know something is egregious, you know, um, because we have so much stigma around our ability, our education, our worthiness. So that's why Black women are the most educated population in the US. And so it's that, I think that epigenetic response of, oh my God, they're gonna think I'm one like this or I'm like that. I've just released it, and one of the things I teach all of my clients is radical compassion for yourself. It's okay to say you don't know, like Shahana said. It's great.
yeah,
It's great.
yeah.
You know. But going back to the subject, a vulnerability. I shared with these guys. I tell my clients all the time to write it out, to get it out in like a journal or something. This is my tree journal. Everybody knows me well calls me Tree instead of Trina. And so that's been kind of my nature animal, and that's the tree of life. And it aligns so much with my philosophy and of how to exist now. And I've started saying this mantra whenever I start to stress, which is the universe, as what Shahana would say, the plural verse, always aligns in my favor. Always aligns in my favor. Because even though it looks like a mishap, it may just be nudging you over for another opportunity or to see something or to learn something that you may have missed if everything was perfect. There's no such thing.
Yeah.
So messing up is a part of the journey. And I had no judgment. I just thought it was hilarious, Garry. Because I was saying to myself in the back of my mind, I wonder if he muted himself. Because I have done that. I have done that, you know? It's like, but I didn't think anything else of it. Like,
I know. And
yeah.
I was just completely enjoying his completely bewildered expression.
Exactly.
He was so bewildered. And it was evident he could hear no one while we could hear both.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, Garry.
It's a common look, Shahana. Trina, it's a common look.
But you have to laugh at yourself. You have to laugh at yourself.
And is that not like everything you've just both shared really just resonates so much when I look at the corporate space I exist within, the Western world that is collapsing, right? The lack of joy, the lack of self-deprecation from a place of fun and humility, not self-harm or degradation. It isn't fun out there. It's so bloody serious. It's all about the next number, the next acquisition, the next this, the next. You're like, no, we can heal through fun and joy, and while centering what needs to be centered. You know, it blows my mind. It blows my mind.
I mean, absolute loss of humor in the space of work is a tremendous loss because humor is healing, isn't it? And if I can't remember now where I read it, but humor, humus, humility, human, all have the same root.
Very good point. Yes.
Humanity. And humus is the root word, Latin word for soil.
I didn't know that.
No.
I just read it. And by the way, I'm rereading rather, this book called Radical Love by Satish Kumar. And
can you put that in the chat so everybody can look that up?
Oh, sure. Provided I don't have access to the, I'm on StreamYard, so not everyone will see my chat. I must.
Go click on comments up in your right box.
Okay.
Yeah. We can I can make sure it gets added to the live stream.
Yeah, we can do it if you can't. But the reason why is I would love that. I love radical. I love that radical love.
Yeah, and Satish Kumar is a Gandhian philosopher and an educator who started the Schumacher College in England. He's now 87 or 88. But so coming back to the point about soil. So when we lose all our humor, humility, humanness, we lose connection with our innate nature, with our inner being, inner source, because we are literally losing connection with our root, our soil. And so when we actually come back with joy, with humor, with humility, it's healing. It makes you whole.
And it's true. It's so true. I remember I was a jokester. I used to tell jokes all the time when I was a kid because my dad was always telling these goofy dad jokes. So this is one quality that I'm so glad I picked up with from him, because I can be serious just naturally, not because I think it has to do with my neurodivergence. And so people think that I'm angry when I'm really not. And I said, and it's funny to me because I'm not an angry person ever, but I can probably hold that expression just because, I don't know, epigenetics, you know, it's like a protective force sometimes to have that facial expression of like, don't mess with me, you know? Um, yeah, it's strange though, because in high school, I found out, you have your yearbooks, right? And I found out too late that in my yearbook, it's had in the back Trina Cheese Casey, because Trina's always smiling. Now, okay, yeah, I get it. I was, but that was my mask back then. I was in so much pain in junior high school and high school. And that was my mask. And it's just funny that nobody could pick up on the pain that I was in, growing up. So, yeah, vulnerability is such a healing, as you said, experience in this hegemonic reality. And I wish, can you imagine if the hegemonic forces could just say, we admit we effed it up, we made some mistakes. Um, Please forgive us, and these are the retributions we're going to add. Instead, I think there's just this steadfast ego of we can't admit we did this wrong. How wonderful if we had that. They had that ability to say, okay, well, we had this vision and we had this idea. It's killing the planet. It's caused a lot of problems. And yeah, maybe we should do things differently. It would be as simple as that. I think people
Yeah.
would rejoice.
And that's almost as if the corporate world indoctrinates shiny-eyed, hopeful youngsters into becoming this zombie-like moving robots. So rather than learning how to really use technology and the power of technology to facilitate us to be better humans and to facilitate us to be better stewards of this planet, we are trying to become like robots, becoming zombie like, more efficient, more productive, faster, harder, better. I don't know. I mean, why would I want to be something that a machine, want to do something a machine can do better than me and kill off my own humanity in the process, my own vulnerability, sense of humor in the process?
Mm.
I mean, a machine can definitely be much more efficient. They're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So what? But a machine cannot evolve on its own, cannot emerge, and cannot sense, and cannot feel by itself, no matter how lifelike you've made it. It
Mm-hmm.
might algorithmically become as powerful as a billion humans, algorithms,
Mm.
but it is still not feeling and evolving. It is
It
still
doesn't
just,
have prudence. Doesn't have prudence to see and feel and to say, oh, maybe this doesn't feel right. My intuition or my gut is telling me no, maybe this person, a very good example is that the AI has already caused huge issues in policing for African Americans, and that it has can't recognize the difference between black and brown faces. So this poor woman, pregnant woman, nearly to full term pregnant woman, the police showed up at her house to arrest her because her face matched an AI, you know, uh, choice of a person in the system. Okay, so this is so and so and so for stealing cars. This woman is a mother. Maybe she had a record decades ago, but she's out to here pregnant. There's no way that she's jacking cars. And the police come. They don't listen to her. They don't care. They just go by this AI information, and she had to be hospitalized. And of course, the charges were dropped because it wasn't her. But had somebody had the compassion and the wherewithal to say, this doesn't seem right. She's super pregnant, and this happened a week ago. This just doesn't seem right. Well, that's because in the US, women and men that look like me and our children as well are not awarded humanity, you know, and that even that thought of that couldn't possibly be. So it's a sad time when a arresting officer who can't look at the situation and make a whole wise decision, say, okay, this is saying it's you, but my intuition saying it's not. Okay, we're not going to take you in, we're going to follow up. So be aware we're going to follow up. That's all that situation had to take, not the risk of that woman losing her child. So where's the humility? Where's the humanity? Where's the humor? Like, he could have laughed and said, oh, this couldn't possibly be you, you know?
So that's the problem. I mean, machine, instead of we are using machines to facilitate the systems, we are trusting machines to make judgments on our behalf.
Mm-hmm.
In the process, we are not only losing out on knowledge, but also on wisdom. And we are relying on basically what is AI, at least as of now. It is just a huge generative mashup of data that's already available. So
Mhm.
they are just mashing up from available information, which they are, of course, plagiarizing to their heart's content without any
Mhm.
kind of permission anywhere. And the more information we share for free, the better for AI and the companies who own those machines. The problem is, in the process, humanity is losing out on wisdom, on imagination, on intuition, on actually on their own ability to trust themselves. They can't trust themselves. They would rather trust what a machine is saying, no matter how effed up the machine is. And the data that LLMs are. LLMs are simply, everyone by now admits it, they are simply highlighting and exacerbating the existing biases in the systems. So no wonder they can't distinguish between. I mean, I've tried AI editing on my writing, okay, on Notion, and it's hilarious. You know what it will do? It will do some kind of editing to reduce the word count. Okay, I ignored that. It will wipe out or literally sterilize and completely sanitize all
Mhm.
my references to capitalism and neoliberalism and hegemony
Wow.
and
Mhm.
Eurocentrism. So finally, what you get is like a little paragraph of information
Right.
without any kind of without any kind of. So I'm censorious about certain things. There is nothing that is in AI. There is nothing. All of that is sanitized, completely sanitized.
The soul is gone.
No, and even the power and the criticism that I'm offering or the criticism that I'm making of the system is completely wiped out. It is just capitalism is harmful for the planet because blah blah blah, and it's so weird. And there are certain words it will completely ignore, like necro-capitalism. It will just ignore it.
It's not weird. That's what the whole entire system has been doing from the beginning. Like with this control, this elite mindset. Who do you think programmed it? I just wrote something like, how can we trust that we are growing based on faulty information? Everything that, what I'm coming to find is everything that we have learned has been a purposeful, deliberate lie to make us feel like we're somebody. The entire education system is this way. But all we are doing, as the Rothschilds and the Carnegies said, Rothschild, the original funders of the education system in the United States, education was supposed to be based on exploration and bringing forth. Okay? That's what the root of educare means, bringing forth. Okay? But he said, quoted, I don't want a society of thinkers. I want a society of workers. He wanted drones, and that's what he invested his money into creating. And that system went out into the whole world and is valued in the whole world. Even the English language, and as somebody who's taught English, it's hilarious how complicated and stupid it is compared to other languages, that have actual words that match the actual meaning of the thing, person, or place. Where English, we that word will work for everything. That word sounds like this word, but it's spelled like this. And it doesn't make sense. And it's energetically the weakest language. There's no power in the English language. But when you look at Sumerian, Akkadian, even Latin, there are these powerful emotional roots to them. But the English language doesn't really have that.
Okay, Garry, you have to go.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna. I feel like we're just getting going. I think we need to extend these to like 4-hour sessions.
Yeah.
But I just want us to say thank you, Trina, Shahana, everybody for joining. Do you know what just came up for me as you were just sharing, Trina, as well, and Shahana, I did not know that about the AI. I've played about with it. But the erasure that is built into AI, you literally had a real life example of erasure of the work you were trying to process in the system. And that's what I'm taking away from this conversation. It's just like, oh my God.
Yep. That's what the entire game is about, right? Keep churning out the same patterns. Don't let new patterns surface.
That's right.
We're going to be back in 2 weeks. Trina,
Yes.
Shahana, you're amazing. Keep coming back, people. Number 14, 2 weeks' time.
Bye-bye.
2 weeks time. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Much love, everyone. Take care.